So I'm pushing my two kids in a stroller, crossing a busy street in Providence, Rhode Island. And out of nowhere, bam, a car slams into me, crushing my legs in its hood in between another vehicle. In that moment, my world is shattered. Both legs are broken, and I almost lose everything.
Been cited after hitting a man pushing a stroller with two children inside. It happened this afternoon on Smith Street. There you see the stroller. The 31-year-old man was in the crosswalk when he was hit. A 6-month-old and a 2-year-old were in the stroller. They were not seriously hurt.
But fighting to walk again taught me something life-changing. You have to heal before you can grow. And that's the secret to understand therapy versus coaching. And I'm breaking it down for you today. And hey, I'm Scott Treas, founder of Life Sketch Counseling and Coaching. And as a licensed clinical therapist, as well as a practicing life and career coach, I've lived both sides of this question, therapy or coaching. Which is right for you? It's a question I get all the time. And it's not always a clear cut. And whether you're stuck in your career or wrestling with mental health or just craving a clear path forward, this video will cut through the confusion. We're diving into the key differences between therapy and coaching so that you can choose what's going to fit you best. So let's jump in. Now let me paint you a picture with an analogy that's really going to hit home for me. Therapy is like a physical therapist, and while coaching is like a personal trainer. After my accident, I needed a physical therapist to rebuild my legs and literally learn to walk again. And that's therapy, right? Healing what's broken to get you back to a solid baseline. And coaching, that's a personal trainer who steps in, once you're walking, helping you train for a marathon or achieve your fitness goals. Therapy is about healing, right? Think trauma, anxiety, depression, or addiction. And you need to rebuild to function again. And after my crash, my prescription wasn't, run a marathon. It was literally learn to walk again. Cracks me up even still today. And that's therapy's focus. Addressing emotional wounds or mental health challenges that can get you back to, again, what's this called the stable baseline. Coaching, on the other hand, is about growth. You're already standing. You're maybe even walking, but you want to run and maybe even land a dream job or navigate a career pivot. It's future focused, and it's less about addressing a problem and more about setting future-oriented goals and developing strategies to actually achieve them. So the core first distinction really comes down to the starting point and the primary aim. Are we focused on healing and getting back to a healthy baseline, therapy, or are we starting from a relatively healthy place, focusing on future growth and achievement, coaching? Another difference, therapy is heavily regulated because it's in the mental health field. One significant challenge of overregulation can be access, right? The requirements for licensure or just the fact that you have to have a master's degree can often limit the number of available practitioners. And this is particularly true in certain geographical areas, or if you're looking for a specific specialty. Additionally, the need for a diagnosis for insurance reimbursement can really create some barriers to entry for individuals. Like, for example, if you don't meet the diagnostic criteria. Or another important consideration related to this is stigma, right? Some individuals may be hesitant to seek therapy due to concerns about having a mental health diagnosis on their record or fear of judgment, right? I worked with several people who were in the military or looking for it, or they wanted to be a pilot, and they're basically saying, like, I can't go do this because I'm not going to get hired. Coaching, on the other hand, is more like the Wild West. Literally anyone can call themselves a life coach. And this lack of widespread regulation has both potential pros and cons. On one hand, as we mentioned, the legal barriers are lifted. It's really about more finding the right person with the right provider, with the right specialty, with the right approach, not just a person in the right zip code. And it can also foster innovation in diverse approaches, such as being paired with courses or materials or groups or accountability partners. So many of these different packages and creative ways to approach this work you just can't do in therapy. But this lack of overregulation means that you've got to do your homework to find a good one. Therapy offers some of that security, but it can be harder to access. Where coaching's wide open, but it's riskier if you don't actually vet your coach. Both have their trade-offs. And finally, the structure and relationship differ. Have you ever left a therapy session feeling like you just spilled your guts, but you have no clue what's next? That's therapy, right? It's often less structured. It's more client-led. It's focused on exploration and insight. I think in some ways, it's actually by design. Therapy is messy and it's ambiguous. It often needs to be in order to get to that level of inner transformation, which can sometimes leaving you feel like, yeah, you had a great conversation, but you're unsure of how to apply it. And this is where coaching is different. It's like a guided hike, right? You've got a map and a goal and actually someone, pointing the way, walking through this with you. If therapy can often explore your past, where coaching is more about plotting your future. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground, and you've got a more clear picture of how therapy and coaching differ. But here's the important question. What does this actually mean for you? Which path is right one for where you are right now? It can feel like a chicken or egg type of situation. If you're wrestling with significant mental health challenges, like trauma or deep emotional wounds, or anything that's fundamentally holding you back, therapy is often essentially the first step. Right? You need to heal those injuries and build a stable base before you can chase big goals. And I think back to my story. I had to learn to walk again before I could even dream of running or lifting or swimming or even picking something up. But if you're feeling relatively stable, or you're hungry for clarity and direction or strategies to hit a specific goal, maybe in your career or personal life, or just your overall well-being, coaching could be a more direct path. And side note, if you're feeling stuck in your career, especially if you're navigating this wild ride of ADHD, check out our ADHD Career Change program at lifesketch.co. Click the link in the description to learn more. And so whether it's therapy, coaching, or both, seeking support is a great first move, an investment in your well-being and in your future. So thanks for hanging out with me today. If this video helped you sort out the therapy versus coaching puzzle, hit that thumbs up and subscribe for more on mental health or career growth or just essentially tackling life's big questions. I'm so glad you're here and I can't wait to chat with you in the comments. Take care and I'll catch you in the next one.